on the campus of Colorado State University.
Jim was the first and foremost, standard bearer for the program.
Jim Benemann is arguably the most successful and treasured name to ever walk the halls of the journalism department.
I would say that the thing that Jim has always been, when he's been well known in Denver, is a CSU graduate. He always made that very clear, and that's big for the university.
Greg Luft would know. He served as the department chair for the school, but has known Jim since they were students.
We actually lived in Corbett Hall at the same time as freshmen in 1974.
The 70s, well, they were a long time ago.
In the 70s, everything was still shot on film.
Film which has since dissolved or was lost in the floods of '97. A dive into CSU's library unveiled photos of Jim's time in SIGEP and a random photo of him hanging out with the bros. Like in the newsroom and on air, Jim is always the life of the party.
I can hear NORAD in this.
He is, in person, who he is on the air.
Even as his career excelled, Jim never lost touch with his Fort Collins roots. From acting in a movie for CSU.
Are you a Colorado State alumnus?
Oh, you're darn right I am. Journalism and Technical Communication, class of 1978.
To speaking with students.
Never said no. Never one time. His time was personal. That's when really the number of students from CSU picked up at CBS 4. And I think Jim had a lot to do with that.
Well, he's right. Over the years, the likes of Michelle Griego, Karen Morfitt, Mackenzie O'Keefe, and many more behind the scenes followed Jim from CSU to CBS.
CBS 4 has had an active program for high school students where they let students come in and shadow folks in the newsroom. And I know of a couple of cases where Jim had a very big impact. One specific case where the student not only shadowed Jim, but Jim instructed that student to come to CSU. And that student ended up going back to CBS 4 professionally and doing very well.
One of those kids was me. In 2009, I was just a wide-eyed student from Smoky Hill High in Aurora, interested in storytelling and photography, as featured right here in this yearbook. Jim invited me personally to shadow him for the day, showing me around the station, talking about the industry and much more. It was then, because of Jim, that I knew this was for me. He gave a quote in my yearbook saying, "We have kept in contact and even discussed a hopeful future as colleagues." Jim not only encouraged me to go to CSU, but once I was there, he also wrote me a rec letter to be his intern. Just 6 years after I shadowed him in high school, Jim and I recreated this photo. No longer a shadow or an intern, but as he predicted, his colleague. Jim Benemann is a CSU and CBS legend. But more importantly, he's been a role model to countless journalists today. I'm just lucky to call him my colleague, friend, and mentor. From the first day I met Jim in 2009 to celebrating his retirement today, Jim has always been an inspiration, and I'm forever grateful for all that he's done.
You know, Dillon didn't need a lot of help figuring out how to succeed in the business, but he was so sweet to mention the fact that I was there and hopefully impacted some folks. But other alums, Bob Dotson, had an unbelievable career with NBC. And a buddy of ours, Charlie D'Agata, who we see frequently covering foreign stories on CBS News. A lot of great folks have come out of that department. I'm glad I got in.
Oh, Jim, we
it's
are
been great.
too.
Thanks, Karen.